Dearly beloved, let's have a conversation about managing pivots. How to pivot. You're going through a career change. You're all of a sudden not inspired about the work that you're doing, and you want to head in a new direction. And that new direction is completely different from the way that you've been going. Or you're working a shitty job that you dislike and you want to take the leap into entrepreneurship or some new career, some new path in your life. Today, I have friend and partner at Magic Media, Chela Davison, hanging with me. And both of us are going through these new chapters in our career where we've been doing one thing for a long time. And the one thing works, has been working, still works. And at the same time, we feel called to move the direction of our life's work and offerings in the world in a completely different direction that is not at all going in the same way. It the skills that we've developed in the way that we've been going apply to the new direction, but it's a new audience, it's a new landscape, it's a new career, a new model, all the things. And so if that sounds like a pivot that you're contemplating, you're dreaming of, or you're in the midst of, then hopefully this conversation adds some value to you. So I think to just get things started, we're gonna fire questions back and forth about both of our pivots and storytell, and I'll get that started by just asking you, Chayla. So you've been doing coaching for a long time and you've built a successful practice, online offerings, courses, one-to-one memberships, large high-end trainings. It's all been great and fantastic. And you've changed a lot of lives. And then something happened. Let's start at the something happened point. And what
Okay.
happened for you? What's this pivot that you're in the midst of?
What happened? A midlife crisis, Bradley. It was a damn midlife crisis. I mean, the,
Are we midlife already? It happened, didn't
well,
it?
I mean, it depends, right? Maybe lifespan. I turn 43 next week. So
I just
maybe
turned 40, so I guess we've
that's good
arrived.
enough. I think
Tis the
so. We're at the
season.
beginning, if we're shooting for 100, we're at the beginning of midlife.
Yeah.
Or whatever. It was some kind of crisis. So what I'll say is, without going into too much backstory, I started coaching professionally in 2009, coaching entrepreneurs, teaching coaches. It's been a really lovely career. You see, there's my dog. He's going to be pacing. He might bark if there's noise. We'll just have to roll. Um, and I work with people on meeting their calling. My calling for decades has been to help people meet their calling. And that's like really great because those were aligned. That's what I was doing. That's what I felt. And then I, when I hit 40, when I turned 40 and I hadn't written a book yet, I like spiraled. Because since I was a kid, I had wanted to be an author. What's funny is that's actually not what's really like got me by my aliveness right now. But it was like, oh, I've spent all these years helping people build bodies of work, write books, find publishing deals, build businesses, scale businesses, do deep practitioner work, like just cool stuff. And I loved it. But then it was like this other dream. I didn't even realize that I was neglecting it. I was just going to get to it one day. And it really kind of hit me like I haven't. So
Hmm.
that was the really maybe you'd call it a come to Jesus moment. I don't know that I came to Jesus, but I came to like time to do something.
Yeah.
Um, and at the time, I also felt really burnt out. I didn't have the same kind of energy or aliveness for what I was doing. Like you said, like in your business, it's working, it's good, but there was like a longing for something else. And so I, as a creative bomb, started working on writing a solo show. It was intended to be nothing to do with my career, nothing to do with writing a book. It was just a side, just for me, nourishing thing. And Bradley, it's just taken over my life. So I wrote it. It's been 2.5 years since I started on that project. I've now debuted it. It's on stage. I'm about to tour it in a fringe festival. And I'm just like, this is what I want to do with my life now. I want to write and perform shows and I want to write books. And I got this whole ass business. So
what do you do? What do
What
you
do I
do
do? What
when
do
you're
I
in
do?
the situation? Whereas right now, I know you're prepping for a bunch of festivals you're performing at
Yep.
this summer. Congratulations. It
Yep.
takes, I know how much legwork's gone into the application process, the practice sessions that you've been doing. I mean, this is kind of taken over your world.
It
And
has.
then you have all the other obligations of like keeping the business going that is paying the bills and paying for your lifestyle and allowing you the freedom and lifestyles to do this.
Yes.
So you're at this turning point, and how are you currently approaching the balancing act of your business and coaching practice with this new and exciting path that is like pulling you forward clearly?
Yeah, it's just got me, right? Like it's really pulling me. So on that, balance is such an interesting question, and I
Yeah.
want to hear like how you're doing that too. So one of the things is I'm just giving myself a lot of permission. I'm giving myself permission to follow where my aliveness is, to let that be a priority. And so there are just certain things that have a certain degree of neglect to them. And I'm like really offering myself generosity and grace with that.
Yeah.
So and that's impacting things. Like it's impacting things like my bottom line. I like looked up one day and went, "Oh, I haven't launched or sold anything in half a year. Like I might want to actually turn attention towards that." So there's um what I am not trying to do is maintain, go full speed ahead. I'm not trying to do it all. I'm
Yeah.
not trying to do it all. I'm following my aliveness. I'm following this pull, and I'm doing my best to take care of what's here, to take care of the clients that are here, to take care of the business that's here. Um, and the thing think that is the most challenging, and I'm really curious what you find the most challenging in the pivot is like, it's not that what I currently have sucks. It
Yeah.
doesn't. It's not draining. It's not toxic. It's not like I'm in a professional environment that's really hard. So I think
Yeah.
that'll be different for people who are like, I've got to get out of here.
Yeah.
That's that's part of what I'm trying to feel is I don't have a situation that I need to get out of. I have something that is pulling me so fiercely forward that I'm just attempting to surrender to that and then like do what I can to not be just like naive and blow up my life.
Yes. Yeah, that's the balancing act. And I don't think you are going to blow up your life as a result of this. It's like
No,
the coaching is always going to be there.
I think
There's
so.
always
Yeah.
an opportunity that's open for you. And so it's a beautiful bridge that you have right now to be able to even just test the waters over in this new path, and the aliveness you're feeling is like, oh wow, this is so exciting and enlivening and completely different from the world that you've been exploring for the last bunch of years with your coaching practice.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's, if I'm really honest, part of what was happening that why this actually feels good for my current business is because part of what was happening was I was just like losing energy for what I was doing. And I felt a lot of shame about that because I'm out of if what I'm doing is working with people on their calling and I'm not actively pursuing my calling or I'm not enlivened by that, that's an integrity miss. I'm out of integrity. So by pursuing in this way, my integrity's back in and how that's allowing while I'm giving less attention, I'm taking less clients, I'm not doing as many events and workshops and stuff. But when I am with the people I'm with, it's like my capacity to really not only meet them in what they're in, but to understand how edgy it is to pursue something when we don't know how it's going to turn out, when it feels high risk, when there are things that we need to sacrifice or burn or neglect, or like there's an initiatory process happening here. And I think for us as leaders who coach people, if we don't throw ourselves into the very process that we're asking our clients to do, if we're not willing to heed the surrender and discomfort of those processes, then how do we really hold people in them with
Yeah.
integrity and truth of what it takes?
Yeah. Amen to that.
Yeah.
Way to go.
Thanks. It's enlivening. It's enlivening and it's edgy. It's edgy for sure. For sure. Okay, let's talk about you. Can we talk about you?
Oh, I would love to. I've been
Okay.
waiting all day. Yeah.
Okay, go. So, well, same question. Like, what were you doing? What was the kind of bulk of your time and energy? Where was it going? And what's pulling you? What's emerging now?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's been well over a decade that I've been doing magic media, building courses, trainings, running a membership for creators to bring their life's work to the world, to scale their life's work, to leverage what they've been doing and do it in a bigger, better, more organized way. I mean, that's how you and I got connected. A lot of my energy in the last bunch of years has gone to like partnership projects where Magic Media joins a partner and we support them to leverage their life's work, upgrade their media, launch a membership, all that sort of stuff. That's been like my bread and butter for the last 5 or 6 years, and it's great. It's such an awesome way to collaborate with amazing people like yourself. We've also, been doing the Magic Mind, my community membership space that I've been running for years. That doesn't require a ton of my energy and time, like 5 hours a week or so to support the people in there. Um, and then, the regular content creation, newsletters, YouTube, podcasts, all that sort of stuff to just like that's my marketing is
Yeah.
doing that because I'm not on social. I've been loving this last year and a half. I've really been leaning into teaching more, teaching way more workshops and classes, master classes. And that's been a blast to just like step out from behind the leveraging other people's stuff and leveraging what I've learned in 20 years and the systems and processes and marketing strategies that I've used and implemented kind of behind the scenes that like a small handful of people have had access to as partners or inside the Magic Mind and bring that to more people. And that's been fun. But then 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, we launched Magic Kids. It's been a direct business partnership with my son who turns 8 this year. This has been his like big homeschooling project is building a publishing company. And we, thanks to his advice, we just launched the Magic Kids app earlier this year. Um, in the last 3 years, I have co-written with him. I think he and I have done 16 stories, including our first graphic novel that we're currently producing the audio story version of right now. It's going to be a 90-minute feature-length epic audio story. And he's narrating it. The story's told through his perspective. And so obviously it's so fun. Him and I jamming out on ideas when we go for walks and making up the stories and the worlds. Last year, we collaborated with one of the most amazing comedy ad agencies in the world, the Harmon Brothers. And Soren, my son, was on our comedy writing team. So he was coming to our weekly meetings, working with a team of professional comedians. He was putting input into the meetings and helping us to write scripts. And then he would act in the comedy videos. And I remember one day he got home from one of the programs he was in, and he comes home. He's like, "Papa, I have an amazing idea for a new ad." And he like laid it out. It was this for anybody that knows the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab and their evil plan to take over the world. We created a series of parodies where Klaus Schwab creates an imagination extraction device in order to take over humanity's imagination so he can control humanity. So that's the series. And Soren wrote all by himself the third commercial in that series of comedy videos, which is basically Klaus Schwab goes to purchase Magic Kids so he can control the content Magic Kids is putting out to the world. And Magic Kids obviously denies Cluse the opportunity because he sounds evil in his email that he sends them. And it was just like, it was this incredible moment where he comes home and in 10 minutes we had the script fully written, and that was the end script that we ended up producing with. And
Amazing.
so like this education that he's getting in entrepreneurship, publishing, turning creative ideas into reality, and the joy that I get, like last week I started a writer's room where we've got 5 of us working on stories and comedy videos for my entire Tuesdays now. um it's just this like it's this amazing it feels like the most scalable thing I've ever created. I mean, I've had visions of having a big studio that you could produce anything imaginable for many many years in my career, and I've always had like different versions of that studio. And I feel like everything that I've learned at Magic Media for the last 20 years has prepped me to like build this new enterprise as Magic Kids. And it's early stages. Magic Media has had to float the 20 to $25,000 a month expense that Magic Kids has been for the last 3 years to have a team of 12 building it and paying my producers. And it's been this
It's a
insane
big project.
undertaking. It's a big project. I had no idea what I was signing up for, but once we were in the momentum of it's just like all systems are moving forward, and we just had to figure it out as we go. But I feel like Magic Kids is my life's work. This is what I've been training for, in the marathon of my entrepreneurial journey. And I'm just trying to put all of my focus and energy there. But at this moment, it was like 6 months ago, 80% of my focus was Magic Media and 20 was Magic Kids. So I've had to build Magic Kids where I've hired people for every single role and I've trained them to do those roles so that none of it's dependent on me, so that I could stay focused on the sugar daddy of Magic Media floating the boat. And then with Magic Kids, it's now like probably 30% of my energies in Magic Kids and 70% is Magic Media. And by the end of the year, I want it to flip. I want 80% of my focus to be Magic Kids, and for the Magic Media side to like do less partnership work and more like really strategic deep dive coaching and running my community and then touring like several different workshops that I'll offer again and again. But yeah, I it's been this like balancing act, as of like feeling pulled like I want to go all in on Magic Kids, but unless I sold a massive percentage of my company, it's just not going to support itself yet. It's just like a toddler running around. However, we're signing some massive contracts right now that in the next several months, as the cash flow from these partnerships come in, it feels very realistic that by Christmas this year, my role will flipped and I'll really be able to throw my entire self into Magic Kids, which is exciting. And like every day, that's what I'm moving towards, is that.
Amazing. Amazing. There are like a few things I just want to like celebrate as I'm hearing this transition. And then I've got a couple questions. So one, I mean, to be a super like I know you as somebody who is a very driven entrepreneur. You're innovative, you're strategic, you love creating new things. You know how to get stuff done, like really get stuff done, and you've got an incredible team. Um, so many people who have that kind of personality construct, family suffers.
Yeah.
And so to hear what it's actually brought to you and your son and how that's being cultivated, and also, knowing you personally and how committed you are to your family, it's like, what an amazing example of being able to pursue something so fiercely, and it isn't an either or. And I think so many people have that experience of either or with vocational pursuits and family and nurturing relationships. And so I just wanted to be like, underscore,
It's
highlight, celebrate that. It's
it's super
huge.
rad. Super
Yeah.
rad. Yeah.
Yeah.
And very risky. It was a stupid decision. Like I had several people that were like, don't do Magic Kids. Just keep doing Magic Media. Just keep growing Magic Media. And smart people saying don't do Magic Kids, but like I had to. And it's just like what you're feeling with your show is like you have to. It's pulling you forward. To not do it, a piece of you would die, like the inner child inside of us that is like destined for this next stage of like full expression in who we are and what we're here to bring, would not be able to live without us saying yes to this thing that is calling us forward. And so there's been 3 times in the last 2 years where we slammed into the bottom of the bank account ran
Mhm.
out of money with another like $25,000 month tsunami coming in behind with another $25,000 month the month after that, and seeing these waves crashing in. And it forced me to just like get so radically focused, innovated, come up with new solutions, create different strategies for partnerships. I made up an entirely new investment model that I hadn't been aware of before that. Instead of people getting shares and owning a piece of my company, it's basically like it's called revenue based loans, and so they're lenders on paper, and they just get like a pretty fat percentage of revenue. Like they get a nice return on their investment as like a percentage of the revenue. So like I think 7% of the revenue I generate through Magic Media and Magic Kids goes to pay back those loans. But those loans, aka investments, were absolutely essential during one of those critical phases that it was just like I gotta get money in the account to like I paid for the app up front. I paid for all the comedy commercials up front to like hire a team to work with me for 9 months on it. It's like,
So these
when
are
we
like these are disruptive, like what you're describing are making choices that are high risk. You're moving quickly. And so this is the question that was like rolling around in me that still is like, what do you what do you have faith in? Like, how do you, when you have the crashing, maybe
yeah,
this is twofold. It's like a faith question
yeah,
and then also like oh, there's my dog. He wants to be in the frame. There he is. And like keeping your eye on the prize. Like, how did you not have the stress, the uncertainty, the pressure of that take you down? How do you actually stay focused and stay innovative in a high pressure situation? Because I know for a lot of people, when things become really high pressure, when scarcity is an all time high, there's actually, I've got to find the research paper on this, that apparently when we are in high degrees of scarcity and stress, our decision making capacity goes down.
right,
So you're making innovative, high risk, fast paced decisions that is now turning out.
yeah,
But like this could have been a crash and burn bankruptcy kind of a situation.
100%,
Faith
100%.
and did like what did you draw on to be able to do that?
Losing wasn't an option. I mean, as you know, I compete in golf professionally. Golf and entrepreneurship are very similarly aligned. In golf, you're aiming for an impossible target, hundreds of yards in the distance, and you're trying to hit a little tiny ball in that hole way off in the distance with obstacles everywhere. And if you focus on the obstacles, you're going to hit into the bunker, into the water, into the trees. You have to put 100% of your focus into the target and then give yourself over to the target. And so for me, I know what I want. I can see my vision so clearly. It's like there's no question about the game that I'm playing here. And so the idea of bankruptcy was not an option. The idea of not being able to pay payroll was not an option. And I've paid payroll every single month. I've never missed one. And so it was just like I know so clearly what I want. And I have a rough idea of the path that I have to take to get there. And so it's just a matter of like focusing all my energy into that. And I would say like instead of like crashing into the couch, I focus on fitness, I focus on health, I focus on cold water immersion. I do things that like activate me and make me come alive so that I don't turn into the defeated slug. That, there's been times where it was debilitating for a day where I would, see my reality and be like, how the fuck do we get out of this? And then I pray like a motherfucker. And I ask for the guidance, and I, on my knees humbled of like, I have taken all of the steps that I felt inspired, I felt intuitively guided to take to get me to here. And now I'm up against a wall. And how do I get around this wall so that we can keep this thing going? And you know what I'm talking about.
Oh,
Like
I do. But
it's
you're another beast. I mean, I just I admire you so much. It's like, I remember having conversation last year when you were like really grinding into some burnout and you were like, and then I took 3 days off and now I'm back. And I was like, what the fuck? When I burned out, I was like, I need a year. I'm white flag for a year. I'm gonna go nap for a year.
Oh
But
man.
and maybe part of like it's like I do know what you're talking about, but when I think about our listeners too, it's like we have a different range of capacity and
Yes.
different constitution. And so maybe that's what I feel the impulse to say that is like, oh, when I was like really going, like I needed to take my time. And that's actually been one of my biggest learnings through this whole process too, is like I thought it was okay. If I what I really know is I want authorship. I want to write books.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go start doing that. So I started like working on a book proposal. I started working with people to help me work on the book proposal. And then there was no energy there.
Yeah.
And I had an impulse to push through that. And then I didn't. I went, you know what? My energy just keeps going to this show. What's my energy keep like I never had in my mind
Yes.
performance artist. And as I was just hearing you talk about the like failure is not an option or it not working isn't an option, I think that's a really interesting thing for clearly we're both in a that.
Yes.
At the day after my first or like immediately after during the standing ovation of my first performance of this show, I felt a full body, this is what I do now.
Hmm.
Now if my critical mind, my figure it out mind, my be a rational middle aged woman who has a family support mind would say, that's ridiculous. That is really, you are going to go pivot to, you're going to go like do shows on stages now? You're going to go tell jokes? Like this was a joke for years. I would say to my husband, hey, if this whole like coaching business thing doesn't work out, stand up's my backup. Like that's ridiculous. Who succeeds in stand up? And it's not stand up specifically, but this pull to go weave together humor and storytelling and cultural critique and kind of shine light on the world that we are currently trying to navigate as human beings in this new art form. It's like, it's got me, and I want to see how far I can take it.
Yeah.
And your metaphor about golf and, oh, that just like, when we're surrounded by obstacles, but you don't focus on the obstacles, you focus on the whole, like that just got my body in a way that was like, ah, what a practice.
All
What am I
there
focusing?
is the target. Just the target. Everything else like is invisible. We just have to put like focus on the target and the way will be made. It's like, that's how we part the sea. It's just like there's nothing but that.
Okay, so this is a question that's maybe more for people who don't have the experience that we're both in right now.
Yes.
Is what, how do you help people when they're in the fog?
Yeah.
They're like,
So
they don't have the target yet. What do you do then?
yeah, I mean, if you don't have the target, that's where the personal work goes. Is like clear, give yourself mental space in your life. Give yourself time, space in your life to experience boredom. Go on a phone fast. Don't watch movies. Don't watch TV. Listen to the muse. Go for long walks at nighttime after you're done your day job. Like go into the inquiry, be in the question, journal, do things that make you healthy. You have to go through a certain type of state change. Like as Albert Einstein says, you can't solve the problems that currently exist with the same level of consciousness that created the problems, or something like that. If
Something
you
like
are
that.
in the problem right now, the level, if you're in your routine and your patterning and conditioning that you've been in for the last 3 months or 3 years or 30 years, you cannot access the new state of consciousness that is the new life that you can feel pulling you forward. You have to state change. You have to let go of all the bullshit that is a distraction from your own inner voice that will tell you what the fuck you're supposed to do. That's what I would say to somebody who's in the fog. And same question back at you. For the
Yeah.
people who are in the fog, they know they have a calling, they're not clear on the calling. What do they do to go find that calling so they can meet it?
All that, everything you just said, everything you just said. And like I would say be rigorous about watching the way your mind wants to know.
Mm,
The mind wants to figure things out. It wants certainty. It wants to know, it wants it to make sense, and it wants to avoid uncertainty, the unknown, and risk.
Yeah.
Like we are wired for self-protection. So if there's usually when we're called to something, but then we're in the fog and the lack of clarity and the lack of certainty usually has patterning functions of trying to figure out something known and something certain that will be safe and
Yeah.
work out.
Yeah.
And I think what we're both modeling right now for ourselves, for our families, for our communities, for our clients is what it looks and feels like to go after something that has no guarantee and that's actually radically impractical.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know if it will work out. So, but here's the thing that for somebody who's in the fog is when you get curious and when you get creative and you give yourself time and space. I love when you said get bored. So often what people do, especially in social media, personal development, entrepreneurship space, is when they want to find clarity, they take in more. They take in inspiration, they take in information. Maybe they even watch this and they go, oh, I'm inspired by this. Great. Now, afterwards, stop listening to us. Go get in the forest. Go listen to yourself. Get creative. Even when it comes to creativity, I think so much right now for so many people is we link productivity to value, we link visibility to value, we link progress to something's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So if we actually can have space to just listen and be creative without the outcome mattering, without it needing to be something that's publishable or something that we can actually make money from, um, we're like it's a hard time. And what I mean by hard time is what you and I are both navigating and like really going all in on is we live in a oh, there's my dog's just gonna freak out for a minute. We live in a we live in capitalism.
Yeah.
So the pressure to be in the churn and make money and grow and acquire is really high. And with the way expenses have been going, it's like, cost of food, blah, blah, blah. A lot of people are even more pressured. And
Definitely.
so it feels impractical and even irresponsible to take the time to get bored, to be creative, to explore, to spend time and space doing things that don't get anywhere or produce an outcome or have a guarantee. To me, that's the way in. That's
Yeah.
the way through. I'd spent a year and a half on the show just coming back to it and coming back to it and coming back to it before I was like, oh, I've got something here.
Yeah.
And I want to see where it's going to go.
That's, I would say, like, if you do have the fuzzy idea of what you want to do, then it's, I would say microdose that idea and put it to action. And maybe you have 5 or 10% of your time and energy can go into that thing. Like what you said with writing the show, it didn't start out as this thing that took over your whole life. It started out as like, oh, I got an hour here. I'm gonna work on it. Oh, I got another couple hours here. I'm gonna work on it. Oh, I've got a whole weekend where the family's away and I can like dive all the way in. And I would say that is better. Like, cancel your Netflix subscription.
Mm-hmm.
Delete all your social apps from your phone so that you can allow the muse to speak to you and you are open and available to listening to it, because the muse is a real thing.
Yeah.
Every single story that I write, every project I've ever created, there is a spirit to that project that I give my energy and time and attention to, and it talks to me and it tells me what it wants to be. And my job is to serve it and bring it to life. And if I have distractions, I cannot hear that muse effectively. My signal's scrambled and I'm not listening. And I think that's the problem most modern day humans and creators and entrepreneurs have is they doubt themselves and they distract themselves. And those two going together makes for a combination of staying confused, staying in the fog, feeling doubtful about being able to move forward and building up the capacity of having enough little victories to feel like you could take on Goliath in the end
Yes.
battle.
Yes. Yes. And the thing that I'd love to add to those challenges that people face is more of an emphasis on outcome than process.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to being creative, if we are, it's like it's the age old thing. When you're writing, you're editing while you're writing. Don't do that.
No.
You're creating a video, or you're thinking about what kind of impact is it going to have? Am I going to get likes? Am I going to get comments? Is it going to go viral? Like the number of people who have, and like rightly so, with all the pressures that we have and what we see, what's seen out there as valuable. But when we can actually enjoy the process, find delight and magic and pleasure in the process, the outcome doesn't matter as much. And I think that's actually the thing that flips it on its head, or the kind of counterintuitive thing, is that the art that really grabs people, that really takes people, are, you can see the artist is alive.
Yeah.
The artist is at their edge. The artist is working something to be able to do that. And so the funny thing about you and me at these edges of like, is it going to work? It's already working. It's already working because we're alive. It's already working because we're growing ourselves and pushing ourselves in really creative and generative ways. It's creating connections with our families and our communities. And so that's winning.
Yeah.
It'll be really great if the money comes, because we need that as well. But I think that's the kind of point I wanted to put on the end of it, is when we can actually find, my poor dog, he's just like, there's people out there. I want to be out there. Come here, Arbor. Come here. Is that when we can find magic and pleasure and enjoyment in the doing of the thing before there's even a result, the result matters so much less.
Yeah.
And so we can actually take greater risks, because if it totally flops and fails, we were alive and honest and in integrity and in our authentic expression in the process. And that matters a lot.
I agree with that. When we started Magic Kids, and I realized the risk we were taking, and I accepted the risk that we were taking, I said to Soren and Celeste, if this fails, it's going to be an amazing homeschooling educational experience for our kid to grow up with this company and all of like the practical life lessons of being a creator and entrepreneur and just like writing and all the things that he's learning just by doing what we're doing. That'll be worth it. Yeah, that'll be worth the investment and the risk that we're taking for him to have that experience for his childhood and his homeschooling life.
That's
That's been
so
cool.
beautiful.
It's
That's
been
really
beautiful.
cool. I think that what I'd love to just kind of riff on there, maybe as a closing thought, is this idea of sacrifice. And this came up in a I belong to an inner work group, and we were talking about this kind of challenge between dharmic unfolding, when we have a calling, when we have a pull, and the status quo, meeting the current obligations. And when we are pulled, something needs to be sacrificed. There are things that have to die or burn, or like we actually put on the altar of sacrifice for this thing that wants to become.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm hearing from you is like, we're actually sacrificing certainty. We're
Definitely.
sacrificing stability. This might fail hugely, but you also had your whole family in on it and in together. And the other day I went like, oh, my friend in this conversation said like, what's on the altar of sacrifice? Like, what are you willing to give up? Is it time? And he listed off all these things. What if you lose the house? What about your family? And it was like really cool to feel it and go, you know what? I don't need to own a house. Now, I hope I'm not like creating some shit right now by saying that, but to actually feel, if I needed to downsize my life to pursue creative satisfaction and expression
Yeah.
and exit a wheel, I'm here for it. Am I willing to sacrifice my family? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Will I
That's the
do whatever
line.
it takes to take them with me? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a beautiful thing to feel in full alignment with what your soul is saying yes to. And, it's also it's challenging, for people out there that's like, I'm a pretty damn good self-coach because I've been doing this for so long. And for people that aren't great at being a self-coach and figuring out the way forward, like having a coach or having an accountability group to help keep you sane and to help hold you through some of the really difficult moments or chapters that you're going to go through. I mean, last year was a very, very hard year for me. It was the hardest year in my 20 years of entrepreneurship,
Wow.
for sure. And it was worth it. And the whole time I went through it, I knew it was going to end. I knew like we would get through it. I didn't see all the details on how, but I just knew we would. And we did. And momentum has, like, we've got momentum at our back, and it's a beautiful thing. And so yeah, that's the idea of like, if you can microdose whatever the vision is, once you're clear and you know what you want to do, microdose it, make that your evening thing, make that your, work 4 days a week instead of 5 days a week, and give one full day to that thing. Whatever it takes, whatever it takes to do the thing is the bottom line. So what do you have that's coming up? I know you've got a very interesting and exciting uh, experiment that's coming up. So did you want to share a bit about
Yeah,
that?
yeah, it's going to be travel. It's open now, but it's traveling through. We're going to be traveling through the month of June, and it's called the Generosity Experiment. And it's really it came to me while just feeling all this aliveness. I'm like, man, I'm just my this dog. Sorry, he's so distracting. Um, when we are at new edges, we can like have aliveness moving, or we can have fear, contraction, constrictions. Both happen.
Yeah.
Both are coursing through me constantly. What I feel and know is when I am operating from a place of generosity, I'm being generous with myself, I'm being generous with others. That is like an antidote to scarcity all over the place. And right now, I'm at a point in my life and my career where I need a lot of help. I need connections and help and support and resources and encouragement and solidarity. I really need that.
Who
And I know
doesn't, to be honest?
well, this is it. And so the generosity experiment is like it's the antidote to individualism, to this spell that we're supposed to pull up our bootstraps and do things on our own. So it's a month-long experiment with some workshops, some co-pollination, co-creation processes where I'm inviting people to get really clear on what support do you need? What help do you need? What resources do you need to thrive and to flourish and to like meet what you're called to? Whatever that is in this season. It might not be a big dream. It might just be like, gosh, I just need some resourcing and support and connection. And then, like, what are the ways in which you're resourced and can give generously? And so that's the experiment. We're going to be moving through what do I need? How do I get it? What do I have to give? Where can I give it? And how do we do both of those and see what happens?
I'm
And I'm
sure
calling
magic will unfold.
I am sure magic will unfold. And it's really like I'm really entering into it with a great deal of curiosity of like, okay, let's assess. What do our resources look like at the beginning? What do they look like after a month of just going all in on the energy and expression of generosity? And it's free because it's generous. So,
I love it. There will be a link in the show notes for wherever you're watching or listening to this conversation here.
and how
Uh,
about you? What do
yeah,
you?
I mean, obviously, any parents and grandparents out there, go check out the Magic Kids app, MAJIK kids.com/app. Download that. We're doing a summer of magic, so we're giving away the app for the entire summer so that families can really try it on and fall in love with it. And then this September, I am running a training for the second year in a row called Craft and Tour Your Signature Workshop. This year, I am collaborating with Tad Hargrave from Marketing for Hippies. And it's basically, I accidentally stumbled upon the most scalable, simple marketing strategy a year and a half ago, where I designed a 60-minute free workshop around thriving in business without social media. And in the last year and a bit, I've toured that on about 25 virtual stages. I've grown my email list by 40 something hundred people. And it is the easiest marketing I've ever done. So I created a program that offers all of the templates and trainings. And by the end of it, you're going to deliver your workshop. You're going to have your media page built so that you can take it on tour and do what I've done, which is deliver the same workshop again and again and again to grow your audience, your income, tap into new audiences, etc. And this summer, Tad and I are offering 6 free workshops that will be building up to that full training that starts in September. So I'll have a link for that as well.
Amazing. And just like a note of, yes, that's awesome. I have gone through that process. And one of the things I'm going to be doubling down on in my generosity experiment is all my pitches for my signature workshop. So this
Yes.
is one of the sweet things of when we make connections and generous connections, we get to share our magic and contribution and genius with each other. And you have shared so much of your genius with me, and I'm so grateful. And this workshop is going to rock.
I'm I'm excited for all the things, and congratulations on saying yes and walking this path. I mean, I've been witness to the entire journey since we met each other. This was like just an idea when we started working together, and then you've been putting it to action. It's so cool to see you going on tour all summer and delivering this live show. How fun.
How fun. How
May
fun.
may it just continue to unfold in the most magical ways possible and
Oh, thank you.
become a sustainable source of income for you as well at the same
Let's
time.
see.
Wouldn't that
Let's
be
see.
amazing?
And
Yeah.
we can go back and watch this and go, oh, look, we were on to something. We
Yeah.
were on to something.
Follow
Awesome.
us.
Oh, thanks so much for this
Beautiful.
conversation. It's been
This was
so
fun.
enlivening. Very
Let's do
fun.
it again.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks,
Okay.
everybody.
Bye, everyone.